Bitcoin ETFs have just got a major boost in the eyes of the public because Grayscale has been fighting the SEC in court for a while now, and they won. The judges have sided with Grayscale against the SEC, which a lot of people are speculating is going to clear the way for the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust to be converted into a Bitcoin ETF and for all these other Bitcoin ETFs to be approved in the not so distant future. This is the second big win for the industry given by judges in America this year. Of course, the first really big one was the XRP battle when Ripple won their court case, where the SEC was arguing that, well, XRP is a security. Ripple, the company, said, no, XRP is not a security. The judges agreed with them. So it's been a bad year for the SEC, although they have had some small wins. For example, they extorted a bunch of money out of an NFT project, basically arguing that NFTs are securities, which is ridiculous because if NFTs are securities, then Pokemon cards are securities and collectible watches are securities and rare cars are securities and your mom's a security. Everything's a security. Anyway, big day for the Bitcoin markets in particular, because this is a very Bitcoin-centric story. Although a Bitcoin spot ETF approval, is going to open the door to an Ethereum ETF approval. One and then the other. Happened in Canada, where basically they had Bitcoin ETFs approved 1 week, 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, they had Ethereum spot ETFs in the market. And there was demand for Ethereum spot ETFs, just like there is for Bitcoin spot ETFs. Now, before we fully dive into this story, let's take a quick look at the charts, because obviously the markets reacted well to this story. We bounced off that key area of price support, which is right around $26,000, pushing the price back up for a daily close above the 200-day exponential moving average. That also put the daily MACD into a bullish crossover and saw the RSI exiting its oversold territory and shooting all the way from 27 up to about 52. So the RSI doubling today. Pretty interesting stuff. Now, I do want to point out here that much like when we saw the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF story, people get really excited, things go crazy, and then people kind of forget about it. Just like happened with the XRP case. Everyone's very excited, things going crazy, and I think XRP is basically fully retraced from the pump. And people, it's like people forgot, like, yeah, XRP is not a security anymore. It's pretty big news, which means most altcoins are probably not securities either. Also big news. And this win for XRP, this win for Grayscale also paves a likely victory for Coinbase. Because I don't know what the SEC is even arguing anymore with Coinbase, because basically everything's already been smacked down on them in court. So a Coinbase victory is going to be another big middle finger to the SEC by the industry. So pretty interesting to see the price action today in reaction to that news, but don't get too overly excited. We still have a lot of things that need to play out in this regard. The SEC has time to appeal. They're not necessarily going to approve the other spot Bitcoin ETFs. They could, and we're going to talk about that, but just don't FOMO. Relax. Well, we got time here. Hopefully, of course. Also, one quick note on the weekly charts here. I think this is also very interesting. The 200-week exponential moving average is where we also saw a bounce from. So that's been the second test since the initial breakout above of this cycle, since the initial breakout above the 200-week exponential moving average, which happened back in March. This is the second retest of that. So far, it was a bounce, but we'll see. We'll see. Again, we're going to be moderating our excitement until we see an actual Bitcoin ETF approval, because a win in court does not mean a Bitcoin ETF approval necessarily. So here's some interesting commentary I found around the interwebs for you. It's from James Seifert, who's works over at Bloomberg. He says, I read through and digested a bit. This is a complete and utter rebuke of all the SEC spot Bitcoin ETF denial orders. There is no wiggle room. Basically, all of the SEC's arguments have been shot down here. Although the decision will still go to the SEC to either approve Bitcoin ETFs or appeal or try and bring in some other sort of things that they disapprove of around Bitcoin ETFs. In the judgment today, the judge said the commission's unexplained discounting of the obvious financial and mathematical relationship between the spot and futures markets falls short of the standard for reasoned decision making. Let me just break that legalese down for you. The SEC has been doing stupid stuff, making stupid decisions. Because this is the insanity of them denying spot Bitcoin ETFs. They've approved Bitcoin futures ETFs. So if the price data is good enough, because they're getting it from the same place they're going to get it from the spot Bitcoin ETFs, if the price data is good enough for billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin futures ETFs, then there's absolutely no reason why it's not good enough for Bitcoin spot ETFs. And it's illogical and unreasonable to continue to argue that it is. Katie Hahn pointing out some interesting information here as well. The three judges ruled the SEC failed to adequately explain its disparate treatment of one BTC ETF, such that its denial was arbitrary and capricious. Legal speak for bad job. In doing so, the SEC didn't follow the basic principle that similar cases should be treated similarly. Yes, they have been specifically targeting these spot Bitcoin ETF products. I guess they're just trying to give as much time as possible for BlackRock and co. to gobble up coins. I mean, how many coins do they need? I guess all of them. They want all of them. She says it's encouraging to see how other branches of government, the judiciary, are serving as important checks and balances to these enforcement agencies like the SEC. Next step is the SEC either grants or denies Grayscale's position, since unanimity here disfavors appeal. So basically, all the judges agreed the SEC is acting in a ridiculous manner. And so if the SEC appeals, they're appealing against a unanimous decision by judges, which is not a super favorable situation for them. And she says, in the event that the SEC denies Grayscale's petition, they're going to need a much more compelling explanation than they originally provided. So they're going to have to find new reasons to try and deny. This whole price concern that apparently was not a concern for futures products, but is a concern for spot products, is not actually a concern. So we'll see what the SEC comes out with next. Jake Chervinsky weighing in here, a lawyer who works in the blockchain space, says Grayscale's victory over the SEC is massive. It's very rare for a federal circuit court to find that an agency has violated the APA by acting arbitrarily and capriciously. The DC circuit just delivered a huge embarrassment for the SEC, but the ETF is not approved yet. Very important to note. This is not an approval of Bitcoin ETF today. This is a court case about a company trying to get a Bitcoin ETF. He goes on, the DC Circuit soundly rejected the SEC's view that Grayscale's ETF proposal was not designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices. The SEC has spent a full decade denying spot Bitcoin ETF proposals under this reasoning. That era has now come to an end. Judges have shot it down. But the court didn't order the SEC to approve Grayscale's ETF proposal. It just said the SEC's analysis on the fraud and manipulation issue was wrong. Now, the SEC has to go back and review Grayscale's proposal again with the court's ruling in mind. So what's the SEC to do in that situation? Well, Jake speculates here for us. He says one theory is that the SEC will just pick a different reason to deny Grayscale's proposal and force more and long and costly litigation. U.S. taxpayer money well spent, right? That's possible. It's hard to understand understate the extreme hostility of SEC leadership toward crypto. Will Gary Gensler go quietly in tonight and just say, well, we lost this one. We fought the good fight, but we lost it. What about Gary Gensler has proven that to you so far? Yeah. Of course, some reasons why they could want to now deny this would be custody. I've seen the custody idea thrown around a little bit. Well, the custody is just not good enough. So yeah, price manipulation, that's a big concern. But no, now you can't really trust BlackRock to hold your Bitcoin, can you? Of course you can. BlackRock's been fine holding Bitcoin. But that might be their next line of argument. Jake goes on. Another theory is that the SEC will take the DC Circuit's decision as a semi-graceful exit from their anti-ETF position. And he says he is in this camp. It's the right move. Basically, the SEC can say we disagree, but we're going to follow the rule of law. It would allow them to have a saving face moment to back out of a losing battle and say, well, the judges decided, so you know what? We're going to stop fighting it. Here we go. BlackRock wants it. Fidelity wants it. Invesco wants it. We're going to play ball now. We tried. The judges said no, and we're going to take the L. And now we're going to be the best regulators of spot Bitcoin ETFs there can be. As he says, there will also be political pressure on the SEC to approve spot Bitcoin ETFs, which is very, very true because it's not just about grayscale anymore. As Jake says, all of traditional finance is ready for a Bitcoin ETF. Everyone's chomping at the bit for it. BlackRock wants it. Ark wants it. Fidelity wants it. Invesco wants it. And other players will get in the water once those are approved. The demand is very, very high for these products. I mean, come on. In a Jello wrestling contest, who's going to win? Is it going to be Gary Gensler or Larry Fink? My money's on Larry Fink, man. Throw those shekels down. Let's get it. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, will not be told no, is my guess. They have a 575 to 1 track record of getting ETF products approved. They're probably going to get this one approved too. And this actually opens the way for that to happen. Jake goes on. Chair Gensler can also spin a face-saving narrative out of a spot Bitcoin ETF approval. The SEC has been getting blasted for its regulation by enforcement approach to crypto, and they have been. They've been getting blasted by the media. They've been getting blasted by a wide variety of politicians. And as he says, again, here's a chance for the SEC to save face and say, look, we're not anti-crypto. We're going to approve the right products. We were wrong. The courts are right. And we're going to approve Bitcoin spot ETFs and then Ethereum spot ETFs and then Cardano ETFs and XRP ETFs and Dogcoin ETFs. Come on, they're coming. They're coming. Okay, maybe we're getting a bit overboard here, but the spot Bitcoin ETF is going to come. Again, whether it's from Jake Chervinsky, who's saying sooner than later it's coming, or Mike Novogratz and his sources at Fidelity and his sources at BlackRock who are telling him, look, the Bitcoin ETF is coming. It's a question of when it's coming, not if it's coming. They're that confident. This today increases that confidence. Now, before we get into the rest of the story, if you are a trader, you got yourself an account over at BYBIT, it is the best place for trading crypto, whether you want to trade futures, whether you want to trade spot altcoin markets, or hop into some sweet copy trading. They got you covered. Use that link down below in the description. You're going to get exclusive fee discounts and exclusive bonuses for trading and deposits, depending on your volume and deposit sizes, up to $30,000. So check it out if you are a cryptocurrency trader. Now, on the back of this exciting news, we also have Jacoby's Bitcoin spot ETF could be listed in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East after its Europe debut. So Europe's already got Bitcoin ETFs. They've had Bitcoin ETPs and ETNs for a while, which are very similar products, but they have an official ETF product now. And that ETF product, which is now trading on European markets, could come to a wider range of markets very, very soon. Asia, Africa, Middle East. Everyone's going to have a spot Bitcoin ETF. Except for America. Now, the next dates to watch for, by the way, we are coming up. So this grayscale news potentially clears the way for the rest of the big Bitcoin ETF news. BlackRock's first deadline for an SEC to either approve, deny, or delay their Bitcoin ETF request is the 2nd of September. Bitwise is the 1st of September, VanEck the 3rd of September, Wisdom Tree 3rd of September, Invesco September 3rd, Fidelity September 3rd, and Valkyrie's September 6th. So in the next week, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spot Bitcoin ETF proposals sitting with the SEC, which the SEC has to make a decision on to either approve, deny, or delay. I would not be surprised, but I would be shocked, to be honest, by a denial after what's just happened today. An approval would be welcomed, but I'm not so sure that's the most likely scenario. A delay, we could definitely see that. They've just been smacked down in court. They might need some time to process that. Maybe they'll rush it through, but I don't think they're going to rush it through. They'll probably delay and say, well, with this new court proceeding, we need some time to digest the information, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to delay. The second deadline then moves up to October, the middle of October. Third deadline, January. Fourth deadline, final deadline, March. 1 month before the Bitcoin halving. Very convenient timing for that, of course, if it gets pushed back that far. I like this thought from Satoshi Flipper here as well. What you guys need to understand is the following. All the Bitcoin spot ETFs are going to be approved. The new bull market has been underway for 10 months since the bottom last November, and all these short-term corrections are only just that, short-term and only meant to shake you out. This isn't a bear market anymore. The early stages of a bull market. When all those spot Bitcoin ETF get approved, man, things are going to get real crazy, real fast in this industry. Ay. Crazy times in crypto. And one final note on the Bitcoin ETFs. If Grayscale gets approved for a Bitcoin ETF, there is a bit of controversy around that, I would say, because 680,000 Bitcoin, Grayscale, the company, owns a big portion of that. Grayscale owes a lot of money to a lot of people. They may be forced to sell to get money to pay these people off. We'll see if that plays out or not. Also, a lot of people have bought those Grayscale Bitcoin much cheaper than the price of Bitcoin is today. They may be looking to take profits when they're able to redeem those Bitcoin and sell them for cash. We'll see how that plays out. Will there be enough demand to meet any potential sell pressure? Possibly. Will Grayscale still get front run by these other Bitcoin ETF proposals? Because both of the approval deadlines for the Blackrock Bitcoin ETF come before a potential appeal period for the Grayscale case. So there could be that. Grayscale could get appealed. BlackRock sneaks in for the win.